Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Yeah, I'll probably cut all that out because it was too depressing and real, but welcome to Everybody Hates Rand, where we're talking about some of the most depressing and real chapters in the Wheel of Time.
I know, I do not like this set of chapters.
I know, it's nightmarish.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what I said, but I'm Emily, that's Sally.
Yeah,
you know the
welcome
drill.
to episode 114.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, if you're starting on this episode, please reconsider.
Who fucking pulls up a podcast and is like, oh, episode 114 seems like, especially a literary one.
Yeah, like there are some where it's just like, what they talk to
wherever the fuck,
every
you know?
week doesn't necessarily matter, but if it's obviously got like some type of order, do not start on these chapters of the Fires of Heaven.
I mean, I'm not going to say we are like pinnacles of order. We are, you know, chaotic beings, but we are following a reading guide that I created arbitrarily.
Emily
2 months
did
ago.
great. It's on our website. I update it every week.
I don't feel like I did great because we did have to read 3 chapters this week. And I know I did that so that we wouldn't have to read 2 of the worst chapters without the circus buffer.
Yeah.
But it was still so long. So much.
Yeah, I like always flip through it to be like, okay, what damage is being done to me by Robert Jordan this week?
What trauma has been inflicted on my bones?
What big of a burden is Robert Jordan pulling on me? And this time I was like, ugh.
I'm being crushed under the weight.
Yeah, the weight of
More weight. Like
hefty.
that fucking crucible. You know, that guy who
More
gets smushed.
weight. Yeah.
Is that what he says? More weight?
I can't remember. I haven't read or seen an adaptation of The Crucible in like 100
Saw
years.
it in the 10th grade. Not saw it, read it
Yeah,
in the
I read
10th
it in the 10th
grade.
grade too.
Everyone read it in the 10th grade, I guess.
I read The Crucible with a teacher who basically just like, she was the sweetest, loveliest person, and I loved her class, but she did not teach any literature to anybody. Like for The Great Gatsby, we were basically all assigned the topic, please write about the color yellow in The Great Gatsby. So it was just like, whatever, man. We like had journal time at the beginning of every class.
Oh damn, I would have loved that.
Yeah, and our class
I gave
periods,
myself journal time at the beginning of every class.
but yeah, we got like a topic, and then a couple people would read theirs. It was very drama. But I mean, it was great, but I was like, as a person who's deeply invested in literature, all my classmates were like, yeah, her class is the best. And I'm like, I agree, she's very cute, but I would also like to learn about The Crucible. It's an actually very interesting text.
I had an 11th grade English teacher who looked just like a Renaissance poet. Like, one time he put up a picture of himself next to, I can't remember which poet it was.
Good for him.
He was like, I don't know what's going on here.
What a vibe.
I know. He was deeply chaotic. Always, I feel, hungover. Like, you know?
If you were an 11th grade English teacher, wouldn't you also be
wouldn't you also
hungover?
turn to the bottle?
Yeah. For everyone who's like, Emily Dickinson is a lesbian. Partial credit.
No, literally? Just kidding, no. But we, like, had these reading assignments between, like, during summer vacation, reading assignments and, like, grammar packets to fucking do. And I remember, like, because this was who I was as a person and who I still am on some level, I just, like, put it off until the last, like, 3 days of summer vacation.
Natural.
Yeah, natch. So then I fucking killed myself to read Siddhartha and Lord of the Flies in, like, 2 days, plus do this 50-page grammar packet, which, I just made up, because
of course.
who cares? And then, I don't think we ever spoke of Siddhartha or Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, that shit happened to me. Like, every year they're like, you have to do a summer reading, and then it'll be, like, a big part of your semester. And, like, the first year, our assignment was Jane Eyre to, like, read... No, it was before 11th grade. Our assignment was to read, like, fucking Jane Eyre. So I, like, slogged through Jane Eyre, which I do not particularly enjoy.
Yeah.
And I was like, my experience with the Bronte sisters has not been pleasant.
Not been good.
Wuthering Heights almost murdered me as a teenager. I was like, who in their right mind enjoys this book? Anyway. Yeah, and they were like, okay, and then you had to take, like, a little test on a computer that was like, do you remember the plot of Jane Eyre? And I was like, not really. And they're like, that's fine, you passed. It was so annoying.
It was so frustrating, too, because usually I am so good at calling teachers on their bullshit.
Yeah.
And, like, knowing this ain't gonna come up.
Yeah, you do have a good radar for that.
I have a really good radar for that, and I think this guy, like, taught it to me. Perhaps. Because after that, I was like, I'm never doing unnecessary work again.
Good for you.
I refuse. Mr. Scotland, you did that to me. Calling you out by name.
Yeah, I mean, I never learned that lesson. Someone will still be like, read this huge book, and be like, okay, I have to.
So, I mean, his personality factors into it, too. It probably wasn't just Scotland. It was also Chris Jushaw. I don't know how, but he did it somehow.
Yeah, Chris is a little bit of a anti-authoritarian streak in him.
And yet, deeply authoritarian. Have I told you the most hilarious irony of my young teenage life, which was that at one point, when I was like 15, my parents banned me from hanging out with boys.
And you're like, oh no, what a nightmare!
And now I'm gay.
No, I didn't know this. It's so funny.
It's hilarious. Yeah. It's because I was hanging out with this particular boy named Chandler. Cambria will be getting a huge kick out of this, and no one else cares. We were all hanging out with pal Chandler, who lived in my, like, adjacent to my neighborhood. So, like, his parents went to not the same church my parents did, but, like, they're connected. I don't have the energy to explain the intricacies of Mormon
whatever church,
you know, what is that word? Congregations. But like my parents knew his parents, so they surely knew that he was growing steadily less interested in church attendance and all that came with it. And I like didn't care.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Most of my friends were Mormons by that point already. Like just because.
Yeah.
I was gay.
Like,
Though I did not know it. But anyway, I would, like, go over to Chandler's house and watch him play video games or whatever, and watch Band of Brothers, and probably doing things I wasn't supposed to do, but, like, not in the way my parents thought.
Emily's over there being a total floozy.
Not, like, fucking, or doing hand jobs, or whatever it is 15-year-olds do.
In the 6th grade?
In the 6th grade! Everybody watch Middle Ditch and Schwartz. It's very funny. It's a comedy special on Netflix. Yeah. 3 episodes. Also good. But yeah, anyway, I like to throw that back in my parents' faces every once in a while.
Be like, remember when you banned me from Chandler's house?
That turned me gay, Mom.
It's your fault, Rebecca.
It's your fault.
There were no boys in my life, so then suddenly I had to
there were no men for me to lust after, so I just had to turn to the fairer sex. And that voice is why I've accomplished so much with the feral sex. Okay, that was the cold open. Somewhere in there, in the rant about high school.
I'm reading this... Okay, there are several things I want to say to bring back some old bits.
Well, you might as well face the facts now that we are not going to talk about these chapters.
These chapters are brutal.
Maybe
and
the circus part.
Horrible and very frustrating. And Talonvor is in them. Barf. So, and I'm reminded yet again that his first name is Martin, so double barf. Okay, so 2 bits of, bring back some old bits. 1, what I'm currently reading, trying to get through really quickly so I can read The Dark is Rising, because I, like, started it before Emily gave me her copy of The Dark is Rising, and I, like, do not have the brain capacity right now to read, to, like, switch gears. My brain is just, like, at its maximum mental energy. It's this weird book I picked up at the Little Free Library at the Aviary, and I, like, just thought it had, like, a funny, like, there's no description of this book, so I just was like, whatever, it's a collection of, like, sci-fi fantasy short stories. I'll pick it up, it's free, whatever. It'll be good for an experience like I'm now having where, like, I don't have a ton of attention. I'll just, like, read a short story. But it's all about music.
Ooh.
And, like, no. And, like, they're all stories that are, like, how sci-fi and fantasy interacts, in particular with, like, rock and roll. There's, like, a rock and roll element.
So it's basically like how men want to fuck their guitars or whatever.
Okay, yes.
Oh, did I
Like,
nail a plot point?
Pretty much. We haven't gotten there.
An artificial intelligence guitar.
We haven't gotten there
lady.
yet, but I am
so
sure.
it's a guitar with titties.
Kind of, basically, we got there in the last one, where it was, like, people are these, like, they, like, move they're, like, hooked up to wires, so when they move their body, like, creates music.
I just think men love to be like, oh, the curves of an instrument are just like a
I know, and I'm like, when was the last time you saw a woman or a guitar?
I'm not made out of wood. I think you're gay. You know who has wood?
Lumberjacks?
Well, people with dicks.
So anyway, when we started talking about The Who, it made me think of that, because it's all, like, and it's all just that, like, particular disgusting incel-like behavior of people who are just like, I love rock and roll!
I'm an incel.
Yeah, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with rock and roll. I love rock and roll too, but, like, all of the protagonists are like, rock and roll is the best music ever. I don't care about this new shit. And I'm like, who cares? So there's, old bit. Second old bit is book news. Because Midnight Sun is finally being published.
Yes, I did forgot. This is the sort of thing we talk about, yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the new era, everyone.
Yeah.
Stephanie Meyer was like, yeah, fuck everyone.
I'm gonna release this book from Edward's point of view.
Which, as, you know, all of you really, what is it? What's the fandom name for Twilight?
I think it's Twihards.
Oh my god.
Like diehards.
Yeah, of course. As all you Twihards may remember, she did already release, like, so much of Midnight Sun, just, like, on the internet.
Yeah, like on her blog or whatever. Yeah, so...
Back when people had blogs.
Yeah, or back when people were, like, wouldn't just pirate a book anyway, and you could just, like, put it on the internet, and people were like, whatever. Yeah, so that's a fun, scintillating bit. One of my friends has already pre-ordered it. My group of aviar friends was very excited.
They love Twilight.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just, like, of all the things you thought would happen in 2020, that's not one I would have picked on my bingo card.
I thought it had died, you know?
Yeah.
I thought we were free of the curse, but maybe Stephanie Meyer was browsing Tumblr and was like, there really is a Twilight renaissance afoot, afield, etc. Just so many people who are like, you know, Twilight was bad, but it wasn't as bad as we thought.
Yeah, no, Twilight is bad, but the meme potential is off the charts.
Yeah, but it's so funny, you guys.
Yeah, it, like,
so much...
was so random and sudden, and I cannot stress enough how disgusting the cover is. It's like a pomegranate that someone has just, like, stuck 2 fingers in and, like, ripped all the seeds out.
Yeah, of course,
wink,
you know,
wink.
it's supposed to evoke, like, Hades and Persephone thing, but the thing with fruit dissected on the cover of a book is that you are, like, vagina.
Yeah, obviously.
And it is such a bizarre thing to me. I can never quite reconcile the fact that Stephanie Meyer is Mormon in the way that many middle-aged women I know and grew up with are Mormon, and yet she's like, yes, this is fine.
Yeah, because I immediately saw it and was like, pussy. Like, immediately, like,
like, I was like, pussy, and it was like, not in a good way.
Yeah, not in a, like, sexy and, like, titillating way. I was like, this is nasty.
I was like, maybe I'm straight after all.
Like, I don't want this. Ah!
Never mind.
It's just, like, so horrifying.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's, like, the craziest shit. I mean, not the craziest shit that's happened in 2020, but again, I never would have picked that.
Yeah, 2020 just keeps finding ways to up the stakes
somehow. Yeah, and the book is also, like, $32. It's, like, so expensive.
I was reading this interview. I read, like, you know, the single interview where she announced it.
Yeah.
And the person was like, it was like, you know, surprisingly, it's hard to write a book that's the same as the first book, but from a different character's perspective. And she was like, yeah, I found that I was, like, locked down in a lot of scenes to, like, honor, you know, the dialogue and the things that originally happened. And I'm like,
obviously.
is that a revelation to you?
Like, what the fuck? Are you just gonna... Does Edward hear different things out of Bella's mouth?
It evokes precisely the same amount of, like, visceral disgust in me that the live-action Disney remakes do. It is the same product.
Yeah.
Just for more money. Mm-hmm. And probably worse in some way.
Oh, I'm sure it's worse. Edward is a disgusting, nasty, stank character.
I know, and he's telepathic. The only way that could make it better is if he's just, like, hearing Bella's horny thoughts.
Yeah.
And is like, no, what do I do with this?
Like, I am.
She's so horny.
And what's also, like, particularly funny about it being a pomegranate on the cover is that Edward, like, canonically does not fuck.
Yeah.
It's, like, a whole huge plot point that he is, like, big virgin. And they're, like, vagina. And it's, like, I get it, he's being tempted. Blah, blah, blah. But it's, like, then why make it look like he has been up in the business?
Yeah, it's, like, it's not like a fresh...
It's not like a freshly
It's getting
sliced...
troublingly graphic.
Freshly sliced pomegranate. It has, like, gone a few rounds. So it's just, like, funny and ridiculous and stupid.
I love the fruits that we find for genitalia.
No.
Peaches are now just thanks to Call Me By Your Name or whatever. It's just like, oh, that's the gay man fruit.
Yeah. Or
and it's like, what?
Every time a peach comes up in conversation with certain groups of my friends, they're like, hey, remember when Timothée Chalamet came on a peach and called me by your name? And I was like, stop talking about this.
I mean, I don't, because luckily I have not had that image seared into my brain because I'm a...
Elise made me watch the scene.
Oh, no.
But I think it was, like, edited a little bit. Like, I don't know how graphic it actually... It was because it was, like, on Tumblr or some shit.
Oh.
It wasn't, like, Elise played the scene in the movie. My friend Elise went through a period where she was, like, really fascinated by Call Me By Your Name. I don't think she saw it or read it. She was just, like, needed to understand. But, yeah, it's, like, peaches.
And that happened to me with Naruto, so...
I get it.
I can relate, you know.
And then it's, like, peaches are also the butt.
I mean, the scene can't be that graphic, right? Because it had, like, a wide theatrical release.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, I think it, like, cuts away to his face.
Yeah, it's not, like,
I don't think you
a
actually
close-up
see...
on Timothee's dick.
Timothee's tingling.
No.
Timothée tingling.
No.
But yeah, and then we've got, like, apples for Eden.
Apples to represent specifically missionary-style heterosexual sex, you know. Nothing exciting
forbidden
about
fruit.
that. And pomegranates is eating a woman out, obviously.
Yeah, of course, duh.
Bananas, blowjobs.
Bananas. I don't think the pear has been overly sexualized yet, but we can change that.
They say some women are shaped like pears.
Oh, damn it, you're right.
Yeah. Well, she's got, you know, good hips.
Cherries, of course, the horrific euphemism, pop the cherry.
And let me just Google a list of fruits.
Which, let's take this opportunity to do a little more EHR sex education. You cannot pop the hymen.
Yeah, ooh.
It's not like a film over the vagina. It's not like a saran wrap. Yeah, like your penis doesn't make it, a penis doesn't make it disappear. This has gotten very odd.
Yeah, what are we, a half hour in? And I say this every week, I refuse to delete any of it. I will, but...
I'm a different person now. It's a very good tweet.
I am. I always hear myself say that, and I'm like, Emily, you dipshit.
Emily, you fool. It's
Emily.
just that I think it's nice to bring some, like, light, positive sexuality into chapters that are basically like, women don't deserve human rights.
Yeah.
So.
The good part, first, is that we do have Elaine and Nynaeve sneak out of the inn after, you know, doing some theatrics with fainting spells.
Yeah, it's very dramatic.
And meet up with Tom and Julian 5 miles down the road, they say. Like, it takes a while to walk 5 miles.
Yeah, most people walk about 3 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah, so they've been walking for a solid, I know, and they're in dresses, so round up to 2
Fuck
hours.
me, yeah.
Ugh.
And it's hot, so.
And it's hot. anyway, they meet up with Tom and Julian, who they then go to the circus, which I don't quite understand. I can't quite grasp the mechanics of, they met the circus on their way to this town, and now they've backtracked to the circus, and now they're like, so we want to go back. We want to go forward again, but to Gyaldin. So I'm like, will you not be going through the same village?
I don't know.
Or
It's
is there a way to go around? I don't know. It's irrelevant. But they're like, Valan, Luca, we are here to pay for your services as hider of people.
Yeah. He's like,
Fucking everyone in Valan Luca's circus is on the run from the law.
Yeah.
He's like the Robin Hood of this series, but, you know, he does steal from the rich.
Good for him.
Give me your money.
You seen that tweet where Robin Hood's like, here you go, my poor friend.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm rich. You're what?
You're what now?
It's like the reason the internet was invented was for that tweet specifically. Okay, anyway.
I just find it so funny that Valan Luca, like, just hides. Whenever a character is like, I need to suddenly be in a disguise or hide from the law for a while, Valan Luca just appears on the horizon with his caravan.
If you say, I need to hide, Valan Luca's whole circus suddenly appears like Bloody Mary.
I need to hide. Help me hide. Hello.
And then Valan Luca's like, here I am with my very sexy legs.
Yes, apparently.
Apparently.
Please look up Sarah McClintock's tweet thread about
leggies.
Sexy leggies. Yeah.
Ooh, sexy leggies.
Tights and how men padded their tights to look like sexier leggies. I spent a great deal of time on the phone yesterday talking to a friend of the podcast, Devin, about his legs, specifically.
When was this?
Yesterday, he texted me and was like, I'm catching up on EHR, and he was quick to assure me that he does have conventionally attractive legs. And I was like, I have leg blindness. I legally cannot tell.
Wait,
and
Devin was like, I need you to know that I have
literally
really good legs.
Not on the phone talking, we were texting.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like, I just want you to know I have really good legs. And I was like, okay.
Thanks, Devin. Again.
It doesn't matter to me.
Wrong audience, but...
Then I was texting his girlfriend, and I was like, so are Devin's legs really something to write home about? And she was like, oh, they're pretty good legs. And I'm like, I don't get it. I mean, I've seen his legs before. They're just legs. Can you visualize Devin's legs?
I really cannot. I'm like only getting to the bust of Devin right now. It's like the rest of his body has vanished.
It's like a blank.
Yeah, it's so weird. Because I think I'm just confused, like conglomerating him with every tall man I've seen in my life. So he's just like body, and then I know it's Devin's head.
Yeah.
Seriously, my mind is like, Devin? And it's just like his floating head.
Horrifying. And, a set of well-turned leggies, apparently.
Nothing in the torso.
He doesn't wear shorts very often, so...
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm having trouble, because he's always in, like, jeans.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take Janet's word for it.
Yeah, if Janet's word is law, she says he's got good leggies, I guess. Okay. Whatever, Val. I don't want your fucking money. Are you on the run from the law? Clearly you're just thieves, not real noble people. And Nynaeve, throws a money bag at his head or whatever. And he's like, we do have money. He's like, well, you have to, do stuff. You can't just be with the circus. You have to do things. And Tom's like, well, look at all these circus skills that I just have.
Of course.
I'm so good at juggling. And he's like, all right, you can stay, old man. But what about the rest of you? And Elaine's like, what about that rope up in the air?
Like, what goes through her mind?
I don't know. It's like she just saw it. And Valan Luca is quick to tell us that the previous, what's that?
Tightrope walker.
Tightrope walker died.
An hour ago.
An hour ago.
They're like, we just finished burying him literally an hour ago.
And you're telling me Nynaeve's not Taviran.
Yeah.
I mean...
Honestly, very convenient for their sake.
Yeah.
Nynaeve just killed this poor
alcoholic tightrope walker.
Yeah, they're like, Valan was like, in our defense.
Yeah, I will not be liable.
Workplace
he was
insurance. He was smashed.
He was smashed doing the tightrope, which we all were fine with for some reason.
Yeah, it's like, what kind of ship are you running here, Valan?
Yeah. Anyway, Elaine gets up there, uses channeling to just waltz her way across the tightrope, and then it's like, Julian can obviously do this too. Julian can't see the fucking...
Yeah, Julian
he's got no idea.
To Julian's credit, he's like, guess I'm fucking walking across
Julian
this
just does it.
tightrope. Yeah.
He's like such a... I mean...
I do think
we
he's
talk a lot of shit about Julian, but...
He's pretty ride or die for
Yeah.
these girls.
So he successfully crosses the tightrope, and then Valan and Luca's like, and what about you, to Nynaeve? And she's like, I dole out the money, and that is the end of my
Now
resume.
Luca's, like, horny.
Valan and Luca's like, perhaps.
I love you.
Perhaps I love you. Yeah, he hasn't quite made the shift yet from being horny for Elaine.
Yeah, which
She does slap him in this chapter. You know, classic Wheel of Time, gender dynamics. Don't slap people.
Also,
I mean,
just
also
don't
don't
come
sexually
on to
harass people.
Yeah, if they're obviously 16.
All forms of violence are bad.
I'm not interested.
But then they kind of go through the roster of the circus, introduce us to some characters who we mostly won't meet again until book 9 or so. But Eludra is a face we might remember from book 2. Well, I don't even know if we saw her face, just heard her name. And are like, oh yeah, she's an Illuminator on the run. Because she got pinned for the explosion that blew up an Illuminator chapter house in Kyrian, which was actually caused by Rand and his dick. Not physically, just like being horny for sleep,
yeah,
you know.
Sort of cosmically.
Sort of cosmically.
It's his dick's fault, yeah.
And we are introduced to the keeper of the boar horses, the elephants, is a Shanshan woman who Nynaeve is quick to call her out for being Shanshan, and then she's like, fuck you, but then she like talks to Elaine and is like, oh wait, you're a noble woman, so I have to serve you.
It's very weird.
Yeah, weird dynamics, I'm sure we'll get into them later. But that's the circus. We then float over to Leandrin and the rest of the Black Aja, who, to keep it brief, Moghedian's now in town, and is like, hello, I'm here, I'm in charge, obviously.
Yeah.
And Leandrin's like, plot, 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 scheme, scheme, scheme. And I'm like, surely this will end well.
Yeah, but at the end, Moghedian, go ahead.
Not that I care, because it's like, how can you have a character who's like, I'm plotting to overthrow another character at great risk to myself, and it's like, Robert, I don't care who wins in this.
Yeah, it's like Bad Lady 1 or Bad Lady 2.
Yeah, it's irrelevant to me. So just don't have this scene to begin with.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything, except at the end, Moghedian's like, I want you to capture Nynaeve. Because I fucking hate her.
Yeah, it sets that up, sort of, but it's also like we've sort of known Moghedian was going to come after Nynaeve.
Yeah, because, like, that's the whole point of Brigitte. She's like, hey, I need you. Like, literally 2 chapters ago or whatever, she's like, Moghedian is chasing you. So it's like, why do we need this scene?
I mean, it explains a little bit why suddenly all these members of the Black Aja start appearing in random cities. Mm-hmm. We have this little scene where, Moghedian sends them out on various missions that we don't hear what they are, because why would we have a scene like this meant to dispense information but not actually... But suddenly, our characters will be in Ebu Dar seeing people from the Black Aja, or in Camelin seeing people from the Black Aja. They're just everywhere. And supposedly this is the moment that explains that. Like, why they're no longer just a girl gang. We are now multiple.
We are now Legion.
But because these women don't start cropping up again for another several books, I have forgotten all about this.
I literally, I opened it and I was like, who's talking? Like, where is she?
Yeah, who are these people?
I don't know. And they always name all, 12 members of the Black Aja or whatever, and I'm like, I will remember exactly one of these, and that's
though they are
Leandrin.
important. Yeah. Like, nothing. It means nothing to me. Finally, then we go over, not finally, because there's also a Padan Fane scene where he, goes and gets the dagger from the fucking basement of the White Tower, because they were like, oh, a historical artifact with great destructive power. A nuclear bomb, no
Keep
less.
it in the basement.
We'll put it in the basement. And Padan Fane's like, this seems suspiciously easy.
Yeah.
And Alviren's like, it is suspiciously easy. You were meant to think that.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. And then they sort of villainously laugh at each other for a little while and are like, we'll kill each other. And then Padan Fane leaves.
Yeah, and you're like, great use of word space, Robert.
Great, thank you for adding to the already massive quantity of pages in this book. But the bulk of this section is Morgause, quote-unquote, waking up from what has been going on around her. It is, on the one hand, pretty interestingly written in this process of her coming to herself and having gaps in her memory and sort of being forced to realize, like, she's talking to Linny. She goes and finds Linny, the nurse who we've often heard of but never yet seen. And is like, I visit you every week. And Linny's like, you haven't seen me since spring. And Morgoth is like, what? Like, that's quite a chilling sequence, and I think a more interesting way of emphasizing the horror of what's been done to her than some of the more graphic things that we get on the sides.
Yeah.
Just like lost memories are a fascinating topic, and especially like their legal history of recovered memories. I've been rewatching the documentary The Keepers on Netflix, which is very good and a very important documentary about, you know, the subject of Catholic priests abusing minors, but also very graphic and triggering. It can be. But it talks a lot about this lawsuit brought by two women against this one particular priest in the 90s, and it was built on the foundation of that they had just recovered these memories. So they had to first convince a judge to accept that this could then circumvent the statute of limitations. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, the fact that there's a statute of limitations on rape is ridiculous. Fuck off, United States.
I know. I hate this country. I hate this stupid country.
Yeah. But, spoiler alert, it didn't go well because it was the 1990s and everyone hates women. But... and the Catholic Church.
So much has changed. I know. What a cheery episode.
We had a peak there for a little while talking about high school and
sexy
pomegranate
fruits.
pussies.
Yeah.
But...
the pomegranate pussy.
Yeah.
The pussy granite.
I really hope that doesn't have to be the title of this episode. I forgot.
I do also like cosmically it was his dick's fault as a good title.
Cosmically it was his dick's fault. I try to veer away from getting too genitalia focused in the titles themselves, but sometimes it just be like that.
Yeah, but no, it's the concept of lost memory is very frightening. It's something that I have like personally dealt with in my like experience of childhood trauma. And it's, like, very scary to just, like, have huge sections of your life that are missing. But in particular, when you're trying to, like, explain that to other people or justify it, they just, like, seem to not have patience.
Right.
For, like, of course, like, that's not a blanket statement. A lot of people are empathetic, and a lot of people have the same experience because it's, like, a big hallmark of trauma is that, like, it's the mind protecting you, basically. Mm-hmm. It's just, like, a repression. Survival technique is what it is, but when, like, this entire chapter, when Linny is the most, like, maybe you need to see an Aes Sedai, but a lot of people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, Talonvor's like, why have you waited this long?
Yeah.
And it's very odd. I mean, the whole thing is that Morgoth does not know what has been done to her, mm-hmm. which, of course, is also a troubling thing about lost memories, is the idea of trying to piece together what mm-hmm. has happened based on what little information you may have.
Yeah.
But Morgoth doesn't consider, or she does consider very briefly, the fact that someone has done channeling on her, but she's like, that's impossible because of what she knows. She doesn't know that the Forsaken are running around because it's not like Rand al'Thor, who did know this, came in to tell her.
Yeah, because she's like, the entire time she's like, I have such weird feelings about Gaebril, mm-hmm. or Gaebril, or whatever his name is supposed to be. Gerbil.
Gerbil.
And she's like, but obviously, like, he couldn't have done anything to me because men can't, there's no men who can channel. And it's like, yeah, the person who knows she is being raped and held against her will and brainwashed is like, whoopsie doopsie.
Whoopsie doopsie. Again, please watch Middleditch Shorts.
It's like, I can't be bothered. I have to go on my weird conquering thing and not even send literally anyone in my massive army to take care of this.
But yeah, in his usual idiotic way, Robert Jordan has seemingly without intention, stumbled into an experience that just generally survivors of intense trauma experience, especially intense sexual or childhood-based trauma.
Yeah, I think it's, like, I didn't mean to, like, bring it back to my own experience, as I am not a survivor of sexual assault, but it's just, like, commenting on, like, how terrifying it is that there are just, like, years of my life that I cannot remember.
And I think
it's freaky.
It's accurate to say the lost memories thing is generally connected to either childhood abuse or sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Those are sort of the two.
Yeah, so those,
things.
like, very intimate violences.
So yeah, we have Morgause experiencing this thing that's very real, including the fact that she is victim blaming herself because she does not know how else to process this. The fact that others are blaming her, including Talivor, who she'll one day marry. And you have things like that are like, clearly Robert Jordan didn't actually know what he was doing. Or maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe that wouldn't have been the particular path that she's gone down. Morgause does have a process of recovery, but first it gets worse for her in that she goes to the White Cloaks and gets raped again. And then she has to, like, go from this riches to rags thing where she's on the road masquerading as a servant. And it's like, eventually she is recognized and restored to her place as, you know, a powerful woman who is now the mother of the queen. But that's it for Morgause. We pretty much never see her again.
Yeah.
So it leads you to believe, what was the point?
Yeah.
Was it just to have a woman be hurt on screen? Because certainly we got that. Otherwise, you know, you hate to be like, well, maybe you should have just killed off your female character. But I would have preferred Morgause to die than for us to have to suffer through this horrific narrative with her.
Yeah, it's so upsetting. And yeah, just for like so much of this chapter bothers me, but there's like this 2-page monologue of Morgause going back through her various relationships with men. And she's like, I had to marry Taryn Gale or whatever for political reasons. And he was just like cold and uninterested in me. And then I had Tom, who apparently is twice Morgause's age, she says here.
She says he was at the time, so if you think that maybe she was 20-something, he's in his 40s.
It's disgusting.
Which means, he's now in his 60s or early 70s.
Yeah, and Elena's like, ooh, hey, it's, fuck off, Tom. I have lost all respect for Tom Marilyn as a character with that one sentence. And then she's like, and then it's Gareth Bryn.
And then she's like, it's Gareth Bryn, who of course turned out to be a traitor. And it's like, what?
But yeah, then she also just talks about how Gareth Bryn, she mentions Talivor. Morgause starts to say something, and Talivor just, steamrolls over her, and is like, we have to do this. And she's like, oh, Gareth Bryn used to do that to me. He just used to talk over me. And it's like,
he's as stubborn as Gareth Bryn was.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god.
Girl, you're... and then she's like, I just make bad decisions. And it's like, no, men are just bad. And Robert Jordan, glorifies, particularly, Tom and Morgause's relationship as, a perfect, very passionate affair.
And just something that, narratively, Robert Jordan pins the blame for what happened with Tom on her.
Yeah.
Because she's like, she lost her temper with him when he snapped at her because, of course, he'd just been going through some trauma with his nephew. And it's like, Tom might have explained that.
Yeah.
It's not on Morgause that Tom chose to not be emotionally vulnerable with someone who he's purportedly loved.
Yeah. It's like, basically she goes through this series of things and she's like, it's my fault. And it's like, no, men in this series are written to use a phrase that I love from a writer whomst I hate, have the emotional capacity of a teaspoon.
Right.
They are not written with any type of depth beyond, oh, I am powerful, and, oh, I'm able to handle Morgause, who's, a fiery redhead. It's, so gross.
It's like this statement that goes around that white feminists especially say that, men are trash. And it's obviously... You don't want to say not all men either, but of course men are capable of great things, just as women are. There are lovely men in the world.
Including the well-legged Devin.
The well-legged Devin is our prime example. But,
can change his name in my phone to well-legged.
Well-legged.
Well-legged Devin, with an accent.
He'll love this episode. men aren't all bad, but in the Wheel of Time world, it is accurate to say that men are trash because they have been written to be trash, whether or not that was the intent.
Yeah, and, like, I just got into a bit of a tiff with one of my friends regarding this particular men are trash statement. Because, like, yeah, of course it is not a blanket statement that all men are trash. I'm so tired of having to explain that. I was skating with my mom last week, like, we go down to, like, an empty parking lot, and she walks around, and I skate, and we chat, and it's very lovely. But some old man skateboarded by, which was very weird.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, you look so cute. And I just, like, frowned at him, and my mom was like, you couldn't have said thank you? And I was like, to a man who just told me I look cute on my roller skates?
Unsolicited?
Yeah. No. And I was like, I hate men. And she's like, well, you can't hate men. Your brothers are men. And I was like, I can't have this conversation right now.
We just say men are trash. It's like a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's a survival statement.
Yeah, and, like, I don't want to get on, like, there are enough tweets and comments and posts about how it's, like...
Sure, do your research.
Yeah,
this confuses
encompassing statement regarding, like, male privilege and, like, the male-coded behaviors that are accepted in society that are actually very predatory. I lost my point because I started thinking about the fucking skateboard man.
Robert Jordan wrote Men in Wheel of Time to be trash.
Well, yeah, and it's like, of course, not all men are trash. That's a blanket statement. But, like, what Robert Jordan has done on, like, the flip side of that, being, like, trying to give sympathy to men in a weird way, has, like, stripped them of agency as well, is the point that I'm, like, trying to get at, is, like, all men behave in this way, basically, is what Robert Jordan is saying, like... And any man who, like Matt, as we've discussed, is sort of more, I don't know, gender ambiguous along the lines of his relationship with the world gets punished for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So instead, like, and the men who are constantly just, like, don't have emotional capacity, like, are extremely violent, have this weird chivalrous, quote-unquote, chivalrous relationship to women where they put them on pedestals, like Rand and Perrin and Tom.
Talonvor is the prime example of putting a woman on a pedestal and simultaneously managing to treat her like she's a piece of shit.
Yeah, how does he do it?
How does he do it?
You can have it all, Talonvor. But it's like, those are the men in the narrative that get rewarded, and rewards always come in the form of a woman. And in Rand's case, 3 women.
Ooh.
In Talonvor's case, the queen.
The queen who he has crushed on for his entire adult life.
Life, probably, since he was a baby. Yeah, and so it's just like, those are the men that are getting rewarded with sexual bounty.
Yes.
And it's just like, barf, 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 barf.
Yeah.
Barf.
Whereas Matt is getting raped.
Yeah.
And then ending up with a woman who A, is a fascist, and B, isn't particularly sexually available.
Yeah. And it's just like...
Which is not to say women have to be sexually available.
No, of course not. It's just like...
in the context of the narrative.
Yeah. Very telling that it's like, you are being punished for your feminine behaviors.
Yes.
With no pussy.
With no pussy. Your feminine behaviors of slutting it up.
Your feminine behaviors of, like, having feelings.
What the hell?
Of trying to talk to women like they are equals. It's just, like, I'm getting to a point where, like, my fatigue with Robert Jordan's whack, quote-unquote, feminism is, like, reaching its threshold.
Yeah.
Where talking about it is becoming...
Difficult.
Yeah, to, like, form articulate thoughts that I feel like we haven't harped against. And it's like, they need to be harped against because there are people on the internet who's like, Robert Jordan loves women. Robert Jordan had such good gay representation. But so it's like, obviously things that need to be said because there are people who are like, Elaine is such a strong female character and shit like that. But it's just becoming really exhausting when there are other authors out there. Like, I just read a book by Becky Chambers, who I love, who had a pansexual protagonist. That word was not used. Character was having sexual relations with 2 different people on her 4-person crew. Was not a big deal. Just like lovely portrayals of men being sensitive and open, and women exploring their sexualities in a way that does not involve being coerced or assaulted. It's like there are people out there doing the work.
Yeah.
Sorry, that got a little soapboxy.
No, I'm just thinking about how there's so many more books to go.
I know! And, like, we haven't even gotten to some of the worst of it.
Yeah.
Like, what if we just had a series of episodes that were completely silent during Matt's adventures in Ebudar? I don't know.
Okay. Winding down.
The outro.
The outro. It's like in yoga when you slowly descend into corpse pose, the only pose I'm incredibly good at. Okay, I apologize. There was not a lot of actual Wheel of Time chat in this Wheel of Time podcast episode. But as we've just said, we're getting a little bit fatigued with some of the harsher violence against women that happens in this series. And men. Sexual violence in general isn't fun to read about or talk about. But all that said, we hope you enjoyed the less upsetting parts of this episode. Well, I guess it was all upsetting depending on how you looked at it.
It was all graphic in one way
or another. Fruits.
Ooh, sexy. I'm gonna have an apple for dinner, probably.
Great, me too, probably.
Gonna have an apple and a bagel.
But this has been Everybody Meets Rand. Thank you so much to Glenna McKenzie for putting your music in front of this absolute tomfoolery. You're a saint.
Yeah, true.
Glenna's voice just sounds so classy. Sometimes when I put it in front of the episode, I'm like, oh, and then immediately we're saying, oh, what?
Pussy.
What pussy granite? Whatever.
The pomegranate's a pussy.
I'm an incel.
It's like, sorry, Glenna. We're just two dumpster fires on human leggies. Not as well turned as Devin's leggies.
This is an ode to Devin's leggies.
That's a great title for this episode.
I hate it so much. Do you have a sign off?
Yeah, speaking of the cat, last week I was writing a grant, which is, I can't do this. I can't even do the sign off. Are you done?
Let's just get started, baby.
Okay, we're gonna try and get through this as quickly as possible. I was writing a grant that for some reason was done in like a survey software instead of like an online form. And so Tybalt like walked across my computer and typed in like a bunch of nonsense in like two of the boxes and then went to the next page. And I was like, annoying, because he won't get off my laptop, but no big deal. I'll just edit it at the end. Fill out the rest of the grant, get to the end, click the next button, it submits the grant. And so I was like, I have literally no idea what it said on that first page. Like, Tybalt could have written, fuck you, for all I know. And so I had to email the grant administrators and be like, hello, my cat walked across my laptop and submitted a bunch of nonsense. How can you help me? Humbly, Sally. And they were like, they were really sweet. I actually know the woman who ended up responding to me. She's really lovely. And she got me in contact with the people and they fixed it. Thank God. But he just doesn't even have the shame to be embarrassed about it.
Go sit somewhere else in your harness.
Yeah. Anyway, he... Okay, goodbye. I hate our cat.
Did so many war crimes this week. What are you looking at?
We love you. Take care.
Goodbye.